Hi, I'm Tyra Adams,
And I'm Tuesday.
and you're watching Been There, Seen That? Xena Season 5.
Yep. Yeah. So my primary thoughts were that I, by the time I made it to like the eighth episode, I was not interested in finishing the season because just
Mm-hmm.
the first episodes were so boring to me and so seemingly irrelevant. And I was like, great, another pregnant storyline,
Mm-hmm.
which we already had that in season three. And we already know Xena's a mom in like season one.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let's just recycle all the storylines and bring
Mm-hmm.
everybody back. So I was getting very irritated. And then it's like episode 12, I think, is a musical.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, episode 10 is a musical, which I did really enjoy, which was a surprise. But it was when Hercules came in episode 12 that I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, the rest of the season went up from there. It was good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, what wind up happening like behind the scenes is that Lucy Lawless was pregnant.
I figured because she wasn't really doing like action scenes.
Hmm. Yeah, so she was pregnant in real life, and I guess because she married the producer of Xena. So, like, that's their, like, that's their baby. I think they planned it out.
Mm.
And, or at least, like, once they got, like, married around season 4. And then I guess they maybe during the break talked about having a baby, and they were like, go for it. And I could, and I just feel like they knew that was coming up, but it may
Mm-hmm.
have, when you're like trying for a baby. And I think she wasn't like old, but she was like, she had already had a kid. So, like, um, she yeah, I remember around the time that she was talking about like working for it, and but it
Mm-hmm.
happened a lot faster than they had planned, so they
Mm.
had switched around the episodes. So I feel like I could see where the episode switched happens, and where
Mm-hmm.
like some of the production kind of went weird. And I feel like some episodes, like the Amazon, like when they initiate Eve, like her baptism, her christening,
Right.
um when that happened, when that happened, I feel like that was a switcheroo just for
Mm-hmm.
her, like getting back into production.
Mm-hmm.
And she was allowed to rest, like that whole, even was it the one with the horse where Argo switch like shrinks
Yeah.
because Gabrielle has writer's block. Like, Xena is asleep during that whole episode for a majority of it, so it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Or
she's
she's like
sleeping.
mad in the store. Yeah. It's like
Mm-hmm.
very simple scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see, like, I feel like I could see where the production was working, but that's what was happening. So that happened in real life, and
Mm-hmm.
then I think you made the, yeah. I guess what do you do? It's like, do you hide it or do you just
Yeah. So they
go for
embraced
it?
it. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it irritated me because it felt like the same trajectory
Mm-hmm.
of having a child as Gabrielle's trajectory was, but
Mm-hmm.
instead of it being like a demon baby, it's a baby that will destroy the gods.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
baby
think,
Jesus.
right. So I think I felt like because the story, like the trajectory was too similar, it just felt
Hmm.
like it was being recycled to me. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's not long enough ago for us to have a repeat.
hmm I felt that too. Like her storyline, even like at the end of the season where Eve is evil, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, there was another way. I almost would have rather they found her and she was like a librarian or something, and they were
Mm-hmm.
like, and she had to
Instead of
deal with
like,
it.
of course she's a bloodthirsty,
Yeah, she's the
whatever.
and
Yeah.
she's the reincarnation of Callisto.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess let's start at the beginning. Like, those are the initial thoughts. Yeah, like the season overall, I kind of enjoyed. For the most
Mm-hmm.
part, it was really the first time I was kind of sitting through a majority of it. Like, I had seen bits and pieces at the time for like two main reasons. Like, number one, like at the time, I felt like it was kind of slowing down. Like, after season
Mm-hmm.
4, everybody, I think they knew they only had like one more season in them before they had to stop this. And then um, like at the time I was moving, like a lot was happening in my life. I was moving up to New York and it was a different household and my mom's health wasn't the greatest. So it was just like, I just had missed huge chunks. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
when Eve was born and I kind of remember like Entertainment Tonight talking about Lucy Lawless is like pregnant and what will happen with Xena. So, or like,
What will happen?
yeah, it was huge. It was like, okay, what's gonna happen with because they had died, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, this cliffhanger, will they come back? And it was like, oh, they'll come back. So I guess we start at the beginning, like that first section.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming back. They're in heaven and hell and angel.
Yeah. So, like, my partner saw some of that episode over my shoulder, and he's like, "What is happening?" And he's a huge fan of the show, but he had obviously never seen the episode, and I was watching it for the first time, and I was just like, I can't even begin to explain to you what is happening in this episode.
Yes.
Because it was just so absurd.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they had like a bucket of ideas for the episode, and they threw them at the wall, and we're like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah, they were like, okay, they're back. I guess we got to start introducing this new Eli storyline. Like, I couldn't even tell you. I feel like sometimes I know the writer price process of other
Mm-hmm.
shows. I feel like I posted they must have been like, F it, we got to make them angels or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It was like, of course, Callisto's back.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it went a different avenue than before.
Yeah,
That she's not just like, oh, I'm killed or locked away and I'm going to reappear again. Like, at least that was different.
yeah, she was like in little hell and she didn't know what that was. And she was like, this is crazy. This is a new level of Tartarus. And it's like, that was crazy. I do feel that was like a nice moment, or that was really interesting to watch and see where that change in the character. Because in all that craziness, you really miss it because it's not even like really important with Xena the rest of the episode. Like when she changes for Callisto, like she heals her. That's like really important to have that moment because Callisto killed her son, and to have like compassion for you literally created this monster. And now that she has this angelic side to see like, yeah, I have to take some responsibility for that. I thought that was interesting. And then Callisto not having any of that evil inside of her.
It's very weird to see.
Yeah. I almost didn't even like her.
Right. I know. I felt like, oh, you're tricking me.
Yeah. But that's a really cool idea. I think that whole idea of what happened if someone took all of your pain away, and then what does it really take to forgive someone? And that's really what that episode was about. And pathways, like Eli is like, I don't understand. My friends got killed because I chose to follow this path of love. So I thought, in the midst of that craziness, there was definitely some good things.
Yeah, it was interesting, but I think it's just, 90s graphics are hard to watch.
Yes.
Also, so it's like these weird graphics and special effects and like wings and like there's so much weirdness happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice change to see. Instead of them just keep duking it out, there's a change to that story.
Yeah. And then the next episode, like Xena doesn't have any evil in her, which I think was another pregnancy cover up. But that was somewhat interesting to see. And
this is the one where like the new chakram forms.
Yeah.
So that storyline confused me because I thought the new chakram was supposed to be able to kill gods, and then it's not able to later until her daughter exists.
I think if I could guess at what they were saying, when she combined them, it neutralized that power.
Okay.
And so like no one could kill a god. Because she kills like the like Roman god of war with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like one of them does, and then Gabrielle comes back like full force, like downloaded with all the angelic like warriorness,
Mm-hmm.
with an angelic power boost and powers. Like all of a sudden, she knows how to use size. um,
But she got a new outfit this season, which was nice.
Yeah, I thought, and it fits her. It suits her.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of started girl crushing on her, like, and it was like, I was like, this really suits her. Sometimes there were some
Mm-hmm.
shots of like Renee O'Connor where she is so hot and
Mm-hmm.
that, and so built. It starts from there. Like, I hate
Maybe it's like the boyish haircut helps too, because it makes her seem less like her character for the most part has just been like kind of a weak storyteller,
Mm-hmm.
like physically weak. So I think being like, okay, well, she doesn't have long hair anymore. She's got a
Mm-hmm.
boyish haircut, which also makes her more masculine. We'll give her a new outfit.
Mm-hmm.
It makes her seem tougher.
Yeah, and because the body I think was always there, but like
Mm-hmm.
you and I talked last time, like she started really kind of like working out, and I think,
Mm-hmm.
but like she had a like nice workout plan
Mm-hmm.
going.
Yeah, she should release it.
Yeah,
Maybe it
she.
exists out there already.
Yeah, you know what? I never actually just Googled it because like she was really. I was like, wow, and then I would probably never do it, but
Right. I would look at it, but probably also never do it either.
yeah, right. Um, okay, so that, and then we have one more like filler episode before
Mm-hmm.
she's preggers, which is like a kind of cool storyline where Gabrielle is super eager to fight to the point that Ares is looking at her and
Yeah. I thought, like, did Cupid strike him? Because why is he acting like that?
mm-hmm.
But no, he's just like, bloodthirsty woman.
Yeah, that's what turned it. You took it, it took her starting to kill people for you to be like, oh, that's hot.
Yeah.
With that annoying Mavacant, I could never really get the pronunciation of her name. It was like, it's kind of obvious that you're not going to last a whole season with that attitude. um, and then Xena's Preggers, which is a funny episode.
The one where she's like having the nightmares and Alti is back.
No, that's like after she finds out she's pregnant. That's like the shaman Amazon one. The one where they go to that health spa resort.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Play that spa, that Western ancient Greece part, part of ancient Greece, that they visited.
I know. They were again like all over the world this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed that. I thought it was I never really liked Amory, so like,
yeah,
that was kind of hard to sit through. Joxa was a little more annoying than usual, and then you have Armand coming back, which I almost forgot about him.
I totally forgot about him. It's like, oh, right, that guy.
Yeah.
I also like that was the episode where Gabrielle had a horse.
Yeah, she gets a horse.
She had for one episode.
Well, it's there, but it doesn't have a personality. It's not Argo. Like I don't even know if does the horse have a name? Like
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not Argo. It's more like they gave her that horse so she wouldn't walk around all the time, but then a lot of the time they're walking anyway.
But she's walking around with a horse.
Mm-hmm. She's walking around with her own horse.
Yeah.
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 The next episode is the Amazon, that one you were saying with Alti.
Alti is back. Yep. I feel like every episode or every other episode, I had a moment of like, oh, this person's back.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also why I didn't like the first half, because I just felt like, okay.
Yeah, it was Xena's greatest hits. Even the actress, like even the actress that's in the episode before when they're in that Western town, the woman that plays the sheriff, she was like the original Amazon queen in like season 1, and just the guy they recycled so many actors. Like you have like the guy that's playing Archangel Michael, he's been so many different people. I don't even look him up anymore. No, Eli's not too recycled, but they were like bringing people back, like Armand or Yao Kut.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you pronounce her name.
Yep. And then Alti came back.
Yeah, and then Alta came back, and
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh yeah, this is the episode when I was taking notes. I was like, who did Xena hook up with? And then I remembered, oh, Kalisa just put the baby there.
Yeah.
But I was like, where's that steamy episode?
Yeah. Oh, that's what I forgot to mention, that end of that when Xena finds out, because Gabrielle has that moment where she's like, like I think that was a really good acting moment where you just have Renee O'Connor just going like, you're what?
Yeah.
Why? You know what? Coming
Yeah.
for a hug, let me tell you. Like, how did you get pregnant? Like, I've been with you this whole freaking time.
Right, yeah. When did you have time to do that?
Yeah. And
yeah,
even at the end of that episode when they're waiting for the attack, where Gabrielle's like, so you literally don't know who the baby was, the father. Do you think Ares? And then she goes, when's the last time you saw Hercules? I don't remember.
I thought because in the musical episode, Draco's back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, maybe it's Draco's baby.
Mm-hmm.
No, stop thinking it's someone's real baby.
Yeah, they just want those. They were like, I feel we got to do supernatural stuff. Yeah, it does really drag, because then they go to the land of Chen, or rather China, and I didn't like those episodes.
Me neither, but I did like that it talks about the invention of black powder. I thought that was neat, but the rest of it, I could have left it.
Yeah. Also, like, Joxers, and I mean, he's always been in love with Gabrielle, but then Gabrielle finds out, and then they never address it for a while.
Yeah. I did like that this season. He was like, how do I tell her?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you just gotta get it out, my friend.
Yeah, and it was like real angelic, like pure Xena said that. She was like, you just have to say it without any attachments. Mm-hmm. And he does that for a little while, but then like the rest of the season that happens, and it's like, I guess they were trying to create, they never ever really address it. It's like a real firm thing where Gabrielle is like, nah, this is not.
But then they make out later.
Mm-hmm.
And in like the mermaid episode, when she's back to being a human,
and
then she smacks him as if he took advantage of her.
Yeah, that episode, like, I was doing something else, because I don't know why I hate those episodes, but like that wasn't.
They seem like time wasters to me.
Yeah.
So like,
why don't you just say Lucy Lawless is still on maternity leave?
Right.
Just make less episodes.
Just put that on the screen for 45 minutes. Lucy Lawless is pregnant.
Yeah, because they cut down on 2 episodes just to make it like through, I guess, which is a couple of weeks of shooting. But I almost rather you cut down on more if it means like I don't have like Married with Fish Sticks on the menu. I guess like the musical to me, that's where it took a turn as far as like the musical episodes where things kind of picked up for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. I didn't really care for the episode afterwards, so I liked 10, and then like 11 was whatever, and then Hercules came back in 12, and I was like, okay, so we are on the up and up. It's
a weird episode after that. Mm-hmm. I do feel like the musical episode, I feel like it's deep and dumb at the same time, because you have all these, like, it's a jukebox musical, and like going into that episode, I kind of remembered, but I didn't remember, and it just started with the war song, and I literally sat up and went, oh my god, they're singing.
Right. Yeah, it also startled me. I think I was like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah, we're not gonna say it's this. I was like, oh my god, they're singing. It's this type of musical. That was the next sentence.
Yeah.
I kind of found it annoying. I thought it was interesting that Gabrielle got jealous all of a sudden. You deal with Gabrielle's jealousy. You have the introduction of the Joxer's third brother, Jace, who's from Spain.
Another twin. Yeah. Yes. I think they just wanted an act like that's Ted Raimi.
Yeah.
To do the lisp accent.
Mm-hmm. Or like some excuse to say like we can't say he's gay, but we're gonna say he's from Spain.
Oh, right.
Like I feel like this season really like loaded down on the like undercover lesbian type thing where or like what is it called when you kind of bury the storyline,
like subversive.
no, there's like a term where where it's like a gay storyline, but they don't really say it. And I feel like there was a lot of that this season. They just kind of went all the way in.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, out of that episode, I feel like I only relaxed once Draco had his song. Always there, like, I don't know why that tipped over to me to just let it go. Just because it was so much fun and he just kind of really just, I don't know. He just bought into it.
He went for it. I did think it was weird that the season Aries likes Gabrielle suddenly, and then Draco also has a crush on Gabrielle.
Oh yeah, Bliss. They don't really explain it. They almost expect you to remember that baby Bliss, that season filler episode at the end of, is it season 3? Yeah, it's season 3. After season 2. After like a whole storyline where it was like just a tag on the end of that season.
Yeah.
Cupid's
the baby.
They never say if it's a boy or girl. The baby Bliss.
That rampage.
Yeah, went on that rampage and like yeah, and shot Draco, and they were in love, and they decided to leave it because it made Draco a better person.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. That's funny.
And yeah, so it wasn't brought in until like now, where now it's like, oh, Draco's randomly in love with her, and but it was kind of funny. I think that's when I just submitted. Like I just submitted
like,
to that.
This episode is ridiculous. Okay. I also like that Xena's mom appeared and was trying to find a mate for her daughter. Yeah. That was very amusing, and you know, Xena's just like, she has a father, it's Gabrielle. Yes. Like,
yeah, and then you have that weird, oh, there were so many things where they just gave up. I don't know, they just, the next episode, I don't think they knew how to resolve it, and it ended in a pie fight, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I thought it was a very weird, it felt like a sort of recap episode, but it wasn't a recap episode. So it was an odd one. Yeah,
it was like, it's a clip show. It was only like half of a clip show, and it was like, sorry, looking up that I still need to know that term. But yeah, and it doesn't really do anything. It's like, but that was something that was before. A lot of times, like sometimes they do like that nowadays, if it's still a network show, all of a sudden you'll have a clip show, and it's because they either need to fill it, or it's usually the 100th episode if they ever get there. And this one's cool. You usually see it in the first season when they don't know what else to do, which we kind of did, because that's when Gabrielle is going to that Bard Academy, and then you usually see it around the 100th episode. But maybe.
But yeah, it was weird that it was like the first half was recap and not the whole thing. You're like, why did you stop recapping all of a sudden?
It was like, nah. Let's just like say F it, get Argo back to full size, get Gabby to full size, and just throw pies.
It was wild. And also in that episode is when they revealed that once Eve is born, she can kill the gods.
Yeah.
Which is a weird episode to put it in. Like, that's important information.
Yeah, I don't. Was
that you're
it?
throwing into the recap?
Yeah, I feel like. Yeah, I feel like I missed that because I thought that was fully in the next episode.
No,
But
that's
oh
before
oh yeah, we're
Hercules.
missing. We're okay because we're missing. When did Eli die? Because that's another huge episode.
I think that was earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't care enough, I guess, to write it down.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. It was a yeah. Because you have those episodes. I think it's a no. It's before the musical episode because I was like, that's a weird tonal shift.
Oh, you're
Because
right. Episode 9. Eli is killed by Ares. Gabriel
mm-hmm.
cries a lot. Is what I.
Yeah.
Is what I wrote.
I feel like it's and that's a lot of this season where it's like full on serious moments surrounded by silliness because it's like he finds out like they go see Eli, then they have a really good moment, and then the rest of the episode is not really. It's almost like they didn't have enough material for 45 minutes and they didn't know what to do. But yeah, Eli dies and he's a big threat, and it's almost like I do like that it's escalating the whole time with Eli. Like it's just not just a random dude, this Jesus dude they met on the way to India.
Yeah,
it becomes a full-fledged storyline,
and religion.
Yeah, and religion, where it's like, oh, we're going there.
He's Jesus. Yeah.
So how do you feel about Gabrielle's arc this season?
I thought it was interesting because like she returns to the Amazons and actually wanted to consider staying there and settling down.
Mm-hmm.
I thought was interesting. I mean, it makes sense because Gabrielle seems more the type to settle down than Xena, but it gave her more agency to be like, I would like us to consider this instead of just, sure, Xena, whatever. Like, wherever you go, I will follow.
Mm-hmm.
So I did like that. I still don't think I really care for Gabrielle as a whole character, so. But it was interesting that she was saying like, oh, you know, I failed with Hope and I want you to succeed with Eve, when it's like, your child was a demon.
Yeah.
You can't fail when you give birth to an actual demon.
She probably doesn't. I guess mothers don't feel that way, right? Like,
I guess. But she knew she had to die.
Yeah, because I mean, we get a Hope cameo, like
yes. I was going, oh no, please don't be like an actual element we're bringing back.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I kind of like Gabrielle this whole season because like she goes from like when she comes back, she takes a huge turn, and they really ask the audience to take that leap with you, where it's like still looking. I'm gonna find this phrase.
You have to like insert it as a thought bubble or something. Like,
yeah, maybe I'll do it.
That's what it was.
Yeah, but yeah, Gabrielle, she takes this huge turn, and it's kind of very interesting because a lot of Xena and Gabrielle's fight, they're once again different sides of the same coin. But I think because Xena's pregnant, all of a sudden she becomes softer, and then they did die. But I feel like Gabrielle is learning to adjust herself as far as what being a warrior or what type of warrior she's going to be this whole season. And then she kind of does. But I like the struggle, and I like the writing around that struggle because it culminates with Eli and where she kind of evens out after that. Because I think at the beginning, even when you have Ares looking at her and being like, oh, maybe this has been right in front of me all along. And to you getting to the point where she's willing to step away from Eli and let him sacrifice himself for his beliefs, even though she's kind of been trigger happy the whole season. I think that's like kind of a huge thing, and even starts writing again. But I think, you know, it's been a really cool upgrade for her a little bit.
I was more interested in Aries' storyline because I didn't expect to see him so much, first of all. So like that he was there so much was interesting. And just I feel he wasn't really developed before. He was just kind of like some guy who loves Xena, who was kind of an asshole. But now you see like, oh, he has actual feelings for her. He doesn't just want to control her. He does also want to control her, but it's not overriding like his actual feelings, which I thought was really nice. And I of course appreciate how petty he is. So that amuses me. But that he made like he took real risks and ultimately like sacrificed his immortality, which I was like, okay.
Yeah.
He really means it when he says he loves Xena.
Yeah. I feel like even at the time, but it was also because like I would dip into Hercules. Like he's a much bigger, like that's where he comes from. He's a much bigger antagonist on Hercules. And to me, to see the difference in him, like I did see that he clearly loved her because he's a straight up dick to Hercules. He just hates him so much. Like we see a peek of that in when Xena has her baby, when the episode Eve's born, where he's fighting with Zeus. Like, why did you always love him more than me? Which we kind of see that we could see that trope revisited in like the Marvel movies with Thor and Loki, right? Yeah. It's a little bit of that. It's almost like whiny little brother Prime.
Yeah.
It's almost
sibling
like
rivalry.
Yeah, I was sitting there. I was like, wow, this never goes away. Like, this is literally in the MCU now. This is all Thor, Loki, and Odin right now.
Yep. The gods have issues.
And I think that, well, if you look at mythology, right, like especially the Greek gods, and they're very different, in which they were just humans who had superpowers, and the Norse gods are kind of like that as well. So you get to see that. So to me, because I got to see the comparing contrast from Hercules to Xena, that I could see like he loved her because he's like Xena's introduced by Ares. He's like, I got a warrior that's going to kill Hercules, and that's just ever since like Hercules kind of turned her, he's been pissy about that ever since. So they're like, it to me,
he's bitter.
He's been so bitter. You took his woman.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I it's kind of weird because the first half of that season up until Eve is born, and even a little bit in that episode, it's just one-sided. Like I always understood he loved her in his own effed up way,
right?
But which always weirded me out, because even when that episode where he may have been her father, I was like, well, how are they going to hook up?
Yeah,
because that was a thing even then. But like, yeah, that whole front of the season, he's just doing his full-on Aries thing. Then he makes that confession, and then he's so frustrating the rest of the season because he's playing both sides.
Yeah,
like within an episode. Yeah. And it's like, how is anyone trusting him? And I don't know why we're trusting him.
But it makes sense because he's like, I love her, but she doesn't love me, so I'm going to do this other thing that hurts her. And then he's like, shoot.
Yeah.
That's actually going to hurt her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, he's so frustrating. You just want him to do right, and you just want him to pick a side. I think that's what's so great about it. It's well written and well acted, where he's just like ping pong back and forth. Even his sister Athena is like, Athena, you should know better right now. You should, like, at the very least, you should not trust him. Xena doesn't. She tries to keep her head on.
Yeah.
She knows she can't. because he's a blind spot for her, so that's why she's always on alert, and they just hurt each other. But I think he kind of likes that he hurts her. Like
yeah, I think so
him.
too. Yeah, they're not a healthy relationship by any means.
No, and I kind of dig it though. I kind of dig that it's not the healthiest of relationships, and that it's just like complicated. It's layered, and it works on the fact that we've known these characters for so long, we've known these actors for so long, and so you get to play around with it, and it's like, oh, this is what something can be. But yeah, he was just pick a side. But I don't want you to pick a side. I kind of do.
Like I do. But once you do, then that storyline's over.
Once you do. Yeah, I think I just saw an article, I think 2 days ago, where they were talking, because like the 25th anniversary of Xena happened last week. So it's been 25 years since Xena popped into the world. She's 25 years old. Yeah, that is crazy. But they said the reason they had to explain, I think it was a fan question as to why Xena and Gabrielle aren't a couple. And they had to answer that. And I think, to me, it was quite obvious as someone who's seen the span of things. But I appreciated their answer, because they explained that they would have been taken out off of the air.
That makes sense.
If they had been a couple in 97, and that's true. Like that kiss, like at the end of, like in the middle of season 2, where like Xena is dead, or even in season 4 where they're declaring that they're soulmates. This whole time they've been pushing the envelope with Xena and Gabrielle, and so much is just buried underneath this whole thing. And even with Jace, like being from Spain, like they were so aware of the show they really wanted to do, but couldn't do, but wanted to see how far they could push against the censors. Like, because at the end of the day, if you look at it now, you're like, oh yeah, Xena and Gabrielle are totally a lesbian couple.
Yeah.
Xena got pregnant. They had a baby.
They're going to raise it together.
They're going to raise it together. They're going to go to a lesbian commune and chill for a little bit. And you got it. It was just kind of like all wink, wink. And so they also explained they kind of picked up like towards that, because the censors started to push back, particularly because that was clear what was happening. They were getting away with murder, that they had to make Ares a more, which is why he's in this season so much.
I see.
Like, in order to get like,
it's a love triangle, sort of.
So you know that Xena isn't gay. She may be bi, which is okay.
Right.
But like, so that's why Ares is so much in there. And I was like, what a nice synchronicity right before I have this talk, that they explain why Ares is in that season so much, especially because all of a sudden it's like a virgin birth and like and all these different things. Speaking of virgin birth, how do you feel about Eve?
When she was a baby, I thought it was funny. Because they're like, Xena's fighting and she's got that baby on like a rope or whatever that she's just yanking up into a tree to keep out of harm's way. Like, all that was funny of how is she going to be a warrior and a mom at the same time. But once Eve was an adult, it was basically a Callisto storyline. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, it fell off for me as well. Like, I really enjoyed, like, I understand wanting to make that baby an adult.
Right.
And plus, if they set it up that this baby is gonna, like, how much danger and running around can you do?
Yeah.
If your
before we're like, we get it.
We get it. Your baby's the chosen one. And it was so like it. I really feel they wrote themselves into a corner, because there's some times where it's just so stressful. I was like, you can't have a baby in this in these circumstances.
I also felt like oh no, did I just lose my thought? Oh, to me, it also seemed like the storyline should have been for the final season, like killing the gods, having Eve, who's, I assume, a nod to Adam and Eve, you know, like, to me, that signals the end of the show. So it's confusing that it's season 5 for me, and there's a whole season that comes afterwards, presumably with the Olympic gods that have no powers. So,
spoiler alert, they never come up again. No, it's dealt
really?
with. Yeah, it's dealt with.
How do they not come back? Everyone's come back.
Yeah, it's done in a really interesting way. Like, I don't like the way it's done, that you get to see the new world. Like, and here's like another thing, when like production hits the storyline, is like they really didn't know they were going to get another season, so they and a lot of shows you'll see that, like like whether it's Stargate or something, you'll see like, well, that's clearly an ending,
right?
And it's like certain shows, when they didn't know if they were going to get another season or not, would kind of end something with a cliffhanger.
Well, that's nice of them, at least.
Yeah, and I thought that's really cool. The bad thing is like sometimes the show could jump the shark because they have no idea where to go, and I think that's a little bit in season 6, but they kind of fix it a little bit more. But it's season 6 is all the repercussions of what happened when basically the Olympians are gone, because Xena just kind of murked them all. But it's a lot of bits and pieces, just like this is a lot of bits and pieces. Ares is a huge part of that. There's Valkyries.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it gets, they're like, whatever, like what, because they knew that was their last season, so they just did whatever the fuck
went for it. I did like that, because Eve's going to be the end of the gods, that now we got to see Hera and Athena and actually Zeus also, and a few other gods.
Yeah,
I thought that was neat, but I would have liked to have seen more of them just in general, and not just have the primary god that we see just be Ares.
Yeah, I think that's just because like all of that was bleeding over from Hercules. So Hercules, you saw all of them. Like, I forget the actress's name, but she was always in the 80s because of her crazy eyes. Like, her eyes are the most piercing blue you will ever see. So the
one who plays Athena?
Yeah, no, not Athena, Hera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's in Masters of the Universe, and she was always cast for her eyes because it's like the weirdest blue you'll ever see. I don't know if you ever want to look her back up, but yeah, Zeus, I think that's like the third actor that plays Zeus.
Okay. All right.
That's the first time I've seen Athena. And then there's like, I got really confused because I guess that was Mercury.
Yeah.
Because like,
with like the silver hair.
Yeah, because that's the same actor that plays Strife. And then Discord was there, but I knew Strife was dead because Callisto killed him. So like it's like all these memories coming back at the same time, because it's like, okay, did that happen in Hercules? There's a lot of like companionship with Xena and Hercules. So like all of those gods like I had seen before, but they're like, I think they wanted to differentiate Xena a little bit, because especially like Hercules is half god, so he's like gonna deal with them. That's his family. Xena, she always gave the middle finger up. That's
true.
She didn't worship nobody, except for maybe Gabrielle. But yeah, I think it's just been like a mishmash this season, and I didn't like when Eve grew up. I thought it was really interesting to see Xena as a mom, Gabrielle as a dad, and and what are they going to do to protect this baby? But I could see them having to move away from it, because at certain points it was so tense. I was like, you can't raise a child this way.
Right, and it's like she has to kill her kid eventually if this is the way the story is going.
Yeah. So
they did have to switch it up and be like, okay, Eve has to have some redemption.
Yeah. And then I think that episode where that switch happens, where it's the one where they capture death in order to fake their death. I thought that was a really good episode. Like, I remember even it hit me in the feels like from before, where I was like, Oh yeah, I remember always really liking this episode because it's so cleverly done. And
Mm-hmm.
it works like a Greek tragedy would, where you have a prophecy and things aren't, you know, this whole season kind of works as a Greek tragedy where you
Mm-hmm.
have a prophecy and no one's sitting down to think of what that prophecy would mean.
Right.
And even Ares said at one point to Athena, he's like, "You're always mad at me because you think I don't think about stuff." But he's like, did you ever seem to notice that maybe we're fulfilling this prophecy because this kid hasn't done anything yet?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I thought if you look at Xena season 5 as a whole, it almost works out as a Greek tragedy
Mm-hmm.
where you have the prophecy, you have the gods, and you have like this epic hero, and then it ends with like, oh no, we did this thing and it ended up another way. What are we gonna do? You know, like how unfair, like when you go against the gods, what happens, which is
Mm-hmm.
and then we have that time jump of 25 years, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. It's kind of creepy that, of course, Ares finds his way in love with another warmonger,
Mm-hmm.
Eve, you know?
Yeah, that was kind of creepy. He didn't,
I was like,
but I
ooh.
don't. When you're a god, does that matter?
No, because they're timeless, but still, I was
Like from
going,
him, like, and that was his thing. And even when
yeah,
he broke up with Eve, like he didn't even break up with her. He was like face to the side,
yeah,
days back.
yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really funny. I thought, at first, I thought when he's telling Xena that, like, you know, if you'll be mine, like, that's fine, I'll just get rid of her, or I won't see her anymore. I thought, is he playing her right now? Because he has Eve, like, or Olivia,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, no, he means it.
He
Like,
means
what is happening?
it. He's like, no one else knows but me. All I want to do is have. Why can't you have my babies?
Yeah, I know. I just was like, man, he is obsessed.
Yeah, it made me think of like, why are those like bastard characters just so great where they're not really evil? And why is that my favorite type of candy? Just like
Mine
Raven
too.
locks. Yeah, Raven locks with magical powers who may or may not be evil. Like just
But
oh
definitely brooding.
and brooding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just kind of a bastard. Just want to make out and punch them at the same time, but you don't want to punch them
That's what
because then
Xena
they
wants
like
to
it
do,
too.
that's for sure.
Yeah, but you don't want to punch him because he'll like it still. Like,
When she was having those naughty dreams about him in one of these episodes,
yeah,
like episode 13, I think, I was cracking up.
yeah. I love the soft focus and how they almost like go into it. She's like, oh, "You're like saved my baby."
Yeah, I thought that was great comedy because, like,
Mhm.
probably most of the audience watching at that time was also like, yeah, he's hot.
Yeah, he's like super hot. Like, yeah. I don't. Yeah, still not really Team Eve, but am Team Gabrielle
Mm-hmm.
and Xena. I was sad to see Joxer go. Like,
Yeah, did they age him because he's not coming back in season 6?
yeah, yeah. He's
Okay,
the only person in this series who will never really come back
got it.
as
Funny.
Joxer. Really.
I mean, he stuck around for a long time, so.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the thing was behind that. I think like he just told his brother like, look at it. I just want to check out for a
I'm
minute.
tired of being a fool.
Yeah, but no, he pops up in other things doing way crazier shit. So I don't
Oh.
know.
I
And
did like I forgot to mention part of Gabrielle's arc. I thought it was interesting that in the last episode she is convinced to kill Eve.
oh yeah. And then Xena, like, without batting an eyelash, almost kills her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
Like,
what did you
you
just
kill
do?
my flesh, I kill you.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I thought that was interesting because I thought Gabrielle seemed too strong to like succumb to the Furies, but
Mm-hmm.
she still eventually was like, oh, she's right, they will kill me next.
Yeah.
Or Eve will kill me next, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was too the way they worked on her. When they initially start whispering in her ear, she's like, they play on the feelings she had about Hope, where Xena is
Mm-hmm.
acting just the way she did with Hope, where she's like, she can change, I can teach her, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And then they start whispering in her ear like, Xena's being a fool. You know what it feels like when
Mm-hmm.
you have to watch this. And like, I feel like that's what the gateway drug was, the
Yeah.
way they did that.
And
um
then who did Eve kill? Joxer.
she killed
Like
Joxer.
she killed Joxer, so of course you're next. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like he was part of the group.
Yeah, and then had to apologize to Virgil. What do you think about Virgil?
Who was Virgil?
Joxer's son. Joxer's hot son.
Oh, wow, he was hot. Yeah. I was so distracted. I guess I didn't pay attention to his name.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes sense. He's Virgil because he's also a storyteller.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I did look it up. I was like, it took me a minute. I was like, Virgil. Virgil! That's what that is.
I can't, but he's supposedly the son of Joxer and Meg.
Yeah, and I've
So
always
how did he turn out normal?
Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes that happens.
I thought like him and Gabrielle were going to be a thing, and I was going to be like, well, I can't be mad about Ares and Eve if Gabrielle's hooking up with Joxer's son. Like,
yeah,
what am I going to say?
That was kind of weird, too. Mm-hmm. I think that's another thing of like, well, if Ares is hooking up with Xena, then we got to give someone.
Gabrielle's got to have some too.
Yeah, just so you know, they're definitely not gay. Even though the last line of the season is, no, we have our daughter back. Like,
and they're like, wink.
Wink. They got their baby back. But But yeah, there's more to come. Season 6 is kind of all over the place. It's almost like a season of filler episodes, but with tiny arcs hidden all over the place.
They like to do that so that it's like if I've zoned out, I've missed something important in the middle of nonsense.
I know. That's why I feel like some of the things like you brought up, I was like, wait, where did that happen? It happened in the Sully episode. That's why I don't remember.
Right, because it's like, you have a 45-minute episode, 30 minutes to maybe 40 minutes is nonsensical, and then you're like, wait, there was something important in there.
Yeah, it's like, why did you drop that line in there? But I feel like a lot of shows did that before to make you watch the filler episodes, because all of a sudden it would play.
Yeah, we'd turn it on and see, oh, Gabrielle's a mermaid. What's on something else?
Yeah, and you'll go watch something else, and then 2 episodes later, you'll find out buried in the middle of that episode was something super important I needed to know, or they found like a MacGuffin that's later going to play into whatever. And it's like, why did you do that?
The one filler episode I did really, really enjoy, aside from the musical, was the Cleopatra episode.
Okay.
But I've always been like obsessed with Cleopatra and Antony and their storyline and like their toxic romance of their own, you know? Yeah. So I thought that was nice. But it also introduced Octavius, who stuck around for a while. So I was like, okay, I'll accept it.
Yeah. But I like how they kind of play with history, and that's kind of good. Yeah. Any more episodes before I guess we head on out there, like that stuck out to you? Any favorites? I do like, I don't know why I always liked, I don't love it, but I always kind of dug the origin of the Amazons episode, because you got to see more of their culture and what they deem is cool and where it came from. I think they could have done without the random transport of the modern person into the past.
Yeah, I was like, what is Selma Blair doing here?
Yeah.
It was very confusing. And at first I thought it was a mistake, because I was like, oh, I guess they ran out of costumes. Like, they have someone in a blue sweatshirt.
Which could have happened.
Yeah, I was like, I guess that's what happened. And then you realize, like, oh, wait, she's just a modern person who's sort of gone back in time, but not, because she knows how to ride horses with no saddle. So
you're riding one of the swift ones. Like, they could have done that whole episode without that storyline, and I mean, even the Amazon part between Samsara and the other one, the 2 leaders of that tribe, just had them disagree, and you'd have been fine. I mean, I dug that Samsara was Effany back, and then Sanoa, I guess is her name.
Mm-hmm.
The second leader, that she played Erin Soon on Farscape, and I always liked
Okay.
that actress. Whenever she would pop up, she always had an interesting look to me and had a really great voice, and she was like one of those like syndicated badass action chicks. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're running out. We need more of those chicks back. So I was excited to see her, but I always just kind of dug the Amazon episodes because they're to me it was always so fun. Like I would totally be an Amazon. Like that sounds
I
great
think
to
it
me.
would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But not if the only men I come across are going to be Joxer.
No, well, she explained the actually like really irate one. She was just being strict, but they do have a season. And I thought that was cool. They brought that up historically,
Mm-hmm.
like between, I think traditionally, for some book I read, like between what would be considered like modern day equal the spring and summer.
Mm-hmm.
You can go into town and just mate with the dudes.
Have
You
a
can
great
make,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
make little baby Amazons, and then the boys go with the father, like some of them, and then the rest gotta stay.
Yeah. It's funny. But yeah, I don't think there's any more throwaway episodes I like. I think just the musical and the
Mm-hmm.
Cleopatra storyline.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Anything else?
Mm, I don't think so.
Yeah, this season was like just really straightforward. It was like Xena has a baby, and we gotta fill the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Until next season, where we see what happens with that baby
Mm-hmm.
and what happens to the Earth without gods, which like we're totally fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure.
Because it's just the Olympians.
I'm curious as a final thought, like, are they not calling Eli Jesus because they didn't want to offend Christians who watch TV?
I think so. But
because then they used John the Baptist.
Yeah, they used John the Baptist. They got the Jesus fish on his temple.
Yeah. So I was like, wait, like, is the limit just like Jesus? Everything else is game?
I think that's what it was. Like, I don't understand that concept either. Like, I was sitting there, I was like, okay, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Clearly, this is a lesbian show. And clearly he's Jesus. Like, why are we just like any other time? Around. Like, she's met Cleopatra. Yep. She's gonna meet Odin and the Valkyrie the next season. So you could have just been like, this is Jesus, and like it'd have been fine. But no. I mean,
someone might have been like, oh,
we can't talk about yes. And on that note,
yeah,
we're gonna end with blasphemy.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.